A diplomatic scandal has just erupted, and this time it's personal. At a high-profile event in Ottawa, US Ambassador Pete Hoekstra reportedly lost his temper, cursing and insulting Ontario's trade representative David Paterson over Canada's campaign against Trump's tariffs. It wasn't just inappropriate, it was disrespectful, and Hoekstra didn't just attack a person, he insulted an entire nation. And for Canada, this moment has become symbolic, the clearest sign yet that Washington's hostility towards Ottawa isn't a mistake, it's a mindset, a culture of aggression that starts at the top with Donald Trump, a culture where Canada is not seen as a sovereign nation. But what's different now is how Prime Minister Mark Carney is responding. Behind the scenes, he is constantly in dialogue with other countries in readiness to cast US away over the next few years. Because this time, Canada isn't staying quiet. It is quite clear that the US will not treat Canada as an equal.
Meantime, the US ambassador to Canada reportedly lashed out in a big way at Ontario's trade representative at an event in Ottawa Monday. Sources tell CTV News there was an unpleasant exchange between Pete Hoekstra and Ontario's Washington trade rep David Paterson. The sources say the U.S. ambassador hurled insults and swore over Ontario's anti-tariff ad. Paterson was said to be calm during the tirade. Last week, President Trump abruptly ended trade talks with Canada over the commercial and then imposed that 10% tariff on Canada.
Carney is turning this insult into action, and the world is watching. And there are very real deals happening. Just recently, Carney sealed a win-win deal with Indonesia. Indonesia has a population of over 280 million, making it the world's fourth most populous country, the largest economy in the Association of Southeast Asian Nations, and a growing GDP. And Carney is actively also looking to mend ties with China, who are open to diplomatic relationships. So once again, Pete Hoekstra has crossed the line. Let's call this what it is, a breakdown of diplomacy. Under Donald Trump, the US has abandoned the language of allies and replaced it with the tone of intimidation, bullying tactics, and disrespect. Pete Hoekstra didn't just lose his cool, he performed exactly what Trump demands from his envoys: obedience, not diplomacy.
With me now is CTV's political commentator, Scott Reid. Scott, good morning to you. So, Canada-US relations appear to be at a real low point. What do you make of these reports of Pete Hoekstra using expletives at David Paterson at a public event?
No, it's to be expected. It's actually in keeping with Ambassador Hoekstra's pattern since he took over the office as chief diplomat to Canada. I mean, he's been overtly insulting time and time again, and that shouldn't surprise any of us either, because Donald Trump doesn't appoint diplomats in the traditional sense of saying, I want an envoy that can smooth relations, that can work with folks, that can build up a bunch of relationships and backchannel. He doesn't want any of that. He wants someone who will yell and stamp their feet in the same way that he does. So it's important for Ambassador Hoekstra to be seen as swearing and cursing and losing his temper, because he wants the President of the United States, his boss, to see that that's how he's conducting himself, because that's what it takes to get approval from the boss in this upside down, backwards world in which we live, now led by Donald Trump. So I'm disappointed. I think it's, it's despairing in many ways, but it shouldn't surprise any of us. This is how the Trump White House administration, this is how Trump world works.
There is no way that a nobody, a persona non grata like Pete Hoekstra, was able to act in this way without being asked to do so by Donald Trump. His role isn't to represent America, it's to replicate Trump's aggression abroad. And that shift from partnership to power play is destabilizing the very alliances that once anchored North America. Pete Hoekstra's outburst isn't an accident, it's a symptom of decay, and it's sparking something Trump didn't anticipate, a growing backlash that's united other nations against Trump. When the US ambassador swears at Canadian officials, the question becomes simple: how does Canada respond? Mark Carney has made that answer clear by expanding Canada's global reach and moving beyond Trump's shadow. As he outlined in his UN speech recently, even Canada's foreign policy is very different now, and they won't just listen to what the US says anymore. Carney's government isn't brushing off Hoekstra's behaviour, it's using it as fuel to strengthen Canada's ties with nations that still believe in cooperation and respect. In recent weeks, Carney has held a string of high-level meetings across Asia and Europe, from Kuala Lumpur and Singapore to Brussels and Berlin, positioning Canada as a reliable partner for nations tired of Trump's volatility, low-class behavior, and aggression. While Hoekstra alienates allies, Carney replaces them with new allies who value and respect a country like Canada. He's turning diplomatic insults into diplomatic opportunity. It is very clear a lot of countries want to trade with Canada, and Trump and his MAGA puppets have tried to keep Canada down and out so they can take control and make favorable deals for themselves. And one message echoes in every meeting that Carney has: Canada is open for cooperation, even if Washington is closed to reason. What Hoekstra may not realize is that his tirade in Ottawa has only made Trump's job harder, because in Washington, more lawmakers are waking up to the costs of these diplomatic meltdowns. Every time a Trump appointee lashes out at an ally, America's credibility weakens and Canada's stature grows. Trade experts warn that if this pattern continues, US businesses dependent on cross-border exports could face long-term isolation as global partners pivot towards Canada and Europe and, of course, the BRICS nations. Trump wanted to bully Canada into submission. Instead, he's motivating Canada to finally outgrow America's shadow. And Hoekstra's behavior only accelerates that shift. Let's be clear, Canada isn't ignoring Trump, it's outmaneuvering him. Hoekstra's profanity-laced tirade didn't intimidate anyone in Ottawa. It exposed how little leverage Trump's envoys have left. Canada no longer fears losing access to the US markets because it's already building alternatives, and it no longer seeks America's approval because it's already earning the world's respect. Each time another Trump official acts out, the US isolates itself further, and Canada looks stronger, steadier, and more principled. The real loser here isn't Canada, it's Trump's foreign policy. This moment, a US ambassador publicly insulting a Canadian official could be remembered as a turning point, the day Canada stopped being the junior partner and started leading North America's diplomacy. Carney's approach has changed the conversation. Canada isn't reacting to Trump anymore. It's reshaping the balance of power around him. For the first time in decades, world leaders aren't asking how to fix relations with America. They're asking how to build stronger relations with Canada. And that's the story Donald Trump and Hoekstra never saw coming, because what began as a diplomatic insult may reveal something deeper: frustration that Mark Carney's strategy is working. As Canada builds new alliances across Asia and Europe, as it strengthens its independence, it's clear the old playbook where America dictated and others, including Canada, followed no longer applies. Hoekstra's anger might just be the sound of that realization setting in, that Canada's independence isn't theoretical anymore. It's real, it's visible, and it's gaining momentum. Every new partnership Carney signs, every handshake that bypasses Washington, chips away at the illusion of US dominance. And that's what truly stings. So yes, Hoekstra lashed out, but in doing so, he confirmed exactly what Carney has been proving all along. The more America shouts, bullies, and lashes out, the more the world listens to Canada. In this new geopolitical reality, it's not Trump dictating the tone, it's Carney defining the future. And the louder the frustration from Washington grows, the clearer it becomes. Canada's rise is no longer something the US can stop. It's something they'll have to live with. You're watching Modern Economics, independent, factual, and unapologetically on the side of democracy and Canada. Subscribe to stay informed as we cover the stories shaping Canada's place in the world. Drop your thoughts below. I read every single one because this isn't just a channel, it's a community, and together we're building a place where reason still matters, truth still counts, and democracy still has a voice. I'll see you in the next one.